Hi guys, it's Angie and welcome back to another Flosstube video for my channel. I'm Angie and I'm happy to have you here. I don't have a very long video today, just kind of a short one. I've got a few things that I have recently acquired. I did do some decent work on some projects last week that I am excited to share with you. I've done a lot already this week, but I'm not showing you what I've done so far this week because then I won't have anything to show you next week. So anyway, first things first, not stitchy related, but because y'all know I'm a little bit geeky nerdy and I like my things when I have geeky nerdy things, I'm going to share them with you. If you are new to this channel, you will probably soon realize I have a major thing for Nightmare Before Christmas. If my hoodie here and my Funko Pops, the projects that I work on or the project bags, I very much love Nightmare Before Christmas. There's a whole story that I'm pretty sure I mentioned in one of my first few videos behind why Nightmare is such an awesome thing for me, besides the artwork, Danny Elfman, Tim Burton. I mean, all of those together combined make something giant. But you'll also soon learn I'm just kind of a general nerdy, geeky, I don't know. I love Lord of the Rings. Love Lord of the Rings. I love Stranger Things. I love ghosts and aliens and and sea monsters and scary stories and legends. And I like Star Trek and I like a lot of that stuff. I'm definitely a fangirl of quite a few things. I don't want to say not superheroes because I do enjoy the MCU, but not a big fan of like Captain America, the movies, not a big fan of the Captain America movies, the Thor movies aside from Ragnarok. That one was awesome. Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, all of those, they were fine to watch once, but I'm probably not ever gonna purposely watch them again unless I'm trying to do a whole thing. That's just me, and it's very apparent in many of the patterns that I get. I usually try to get something that's very themed. It's not as often that I stitch on things that are not to my taste or to somebody else in my family's taste. So anyway, that was just a quick blurb to say I picked up some new things. To be fair, I have a birthday this week. Anyway, so I tend to sometimes get myself little gifts beforehand. The first one I got is a Gandalf the Gray. I have a Gandalf already, but he is a Gandalf that's sitting on a flying eagle. So I needed just a regular Gandalf, and he's got his staff and his sword. So Gandalf the Gray. And then this one was just a must. I love Lord of the Rings. I needed a Gollum. So I got my Gollum. And then the last one I got, I'd never seen this one before, and this one of course is Sally. And I'm not as big of a fan of Sally. I like her and everything, but Jack and Oogie are my two faves. But this Sally is holding, I don't know if you can see it in there because of, you know, focus issues, but she's holding a needle and sewing up her arm. And I just thought, Sally with a needle. What better representation unless we had Jack with a needle? That would have been perfect, but it doesn't work that way. So I bought those for myself, and then I also bought this. Now, I've already told everybody I collect needle minders, and I mean, I don't collect them the same way I collect this. If I see a needle minder that's super cute, then I'll usually buy it, and then if I buy one, I have to buy a few because you don't want to just buy one and pay shipping for one. As far as project bags go, I'm perfectly happy with my plastic Amazon ones, but I did tell myself if I saw project bags that just spoke to me, I would get them. Plus, I do like to help support friends who make things. I think that's important, especially in COVID times. So I saw this one from Vicki Stitch and Button, and I went and picked it up. And this is my newest project bag. It is a Bob Ross. Got his paintings, his paints, brush. He's got this little happy little squirrel. If you don't know, if you've never watched The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross, he rescued a squirrel when it was a baby and then fed it. And then I'm pretty sure he ended up releasing it back into the wild, but he kept it safe so it wouldn't die. And he would have it in his pocket sometimes on the show. And so the inside of the bag, Bob Ross. But I have, you wouldn't think maybe that I'm artsy-fartsy Bob Ross person, but I am, and that is due to my grandmother, who was an artist herself. She was one of those, you'd see them in the mall in the 80s, and they'd have their whole setup, and they'd have paintings on easels all over the place, and then they'd be painting, and you could go by and you could buy paintings from them in the middle of the mall, like art shows. And she would do that, and she would take commissions. That's how they made their money, was through her. She was a very good artist, mostly landscapes and pets, and she would take commissions, and you could give her a picture of your pet and she would paint it for you, and she did a really good job. When she passed away, I was in high school when she passed away. My mom ended up getting a lot of her pet paintings, not knowing what to do with them. I think she ended up trying to donate them to some vet offices because they weren't her pets, so they didn't have any meaning. But my grandma would videotape or record the Joy of Painting, and then when I'd come visit, she and I would watch Joy of Painting together from the tapes that she had made. And then since he's come back on, I think he's on one of them, Prime or Amazon Prime or Netflix or something. I've found myself watching some Joy of Painting as well. So Bob Ross, I had to have Bob Ross because it reminds me of my grandma. And she also sent this cute little butterfly needle minder, which is perfect because I am putting in here my Bigfoot Bunch and Abominable Bundle, the two patterns that I recently just bought. I have got them almost completely kitted up. I just have to pull my DMC from my stash. So I've got my kit cards ready. And then I almost went with the called for fabric, but decided not to because I already have fabric. I have a ton of fabric just sitting around here. I have a yard of fabric that's 36 count, and it does call for 36 count fabric. It just was white, and that wouldn't work. So what I did is I pulled out my yard of 36 count white mystery fabric, and I cut off this big swath of it and pulled out my RIT dyes and dyed my own. And it's really wrinkly, so I'm sorry it's not beautiful, but the color, I don't know if you can see it because I don't have natural light in here today. It's overcast, so I've just got my generic crappy light. But this was white, and I used a cup of really hot water with 1 cap full of RIT charcoal, and then like half a cap full of apple green from RIT dyes, and I mixed them together because I didn't want a black fabric. I wanted as close to brown as I could get ish because I didn't have any brown dye. So, you know, you don't have what you need, you just kind of go with what you've got. And initially this came out really dark, and I was really worried that it was going to be too dark. So I rinsed it really thoroughly in some hot water before rinsing it in cold water and baking it and rinsing it again and then baking it again just to be safe. And it ended up coming out this color, which again, I was a little bit worried, but when you hold it up, let's see, the first one I'm going to do is Abominable. When you hold the colors up, they all stand out. I think that this one might blend just a little bit in it, but it's not one of the major colors that we use. And then when I hold up the colors from Bigfoot, I mean, they all pop. So I think this is gonna work just fine. My mom has requested that I stitch her a Bigfoot. They live in Washington State, right there, like not right near, but very close to Mount St. Helens and some Bigfoot country. So she has requested I make her one, and then I will probably finish it like an ornament to put on their tree. So I'm keeping these in my Bob Ross bag, and hopefully we'll be starting these this week or next. If I don't start them this week, I will start them next weekend, because next weekend is the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Marathon. If you've never heard of that, you cross stitch for 24 hours, and it's a whole weekend thing if you want. I've seen some people will start the afternoon of Friday, go into the afternoon of Saturday, full 24 hours, no sleep. Those are the team no sleep. Then you have team sleep, and they kind of spread the 24 hours over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the weekend. That's what I usually end up doing, but we'll see what I do. It's easier on me if I get some sleep, but we'll see. Anyway, that's next weekend, not this coming weekend, not the 17th, but the following weekend. So I know I'm gonna at least do this. In fact, I might do a bunch of the smalls that I have sitting around that need to get done. Sorry, I have a hair itching my nose. Anyway, so that you will soon see some of that. On to stitching. That was the last of my acquisitions, my happy mail. What was I gonna say? Okay, I did a bunch of stuff. You saw my progress on Map of Middle Earth, and you saw my progress on one other thing. I think it was Epic Storybook Princess. But thanks to Semi-Sane Stitcher's Go Stitch game that's this month, I have pulled out some patterns that I haven't pulled out in a little while. The first one I will share with you, of course. This one you've seen recently, but I pulled this out last week because I didn't work on it at all in March. This is 11sies, and I was about to start the second word last week when I realized I didn't have the color, but I have it now, so this will hopefully soon get luncheon added onto it. And then I only have 3 more after luncheon, so I think I have 4 more words, and then this one's done. I may end up just finishing this one, but it's kind of fun to poke around with it. So 11sies. This one will be framed and put in my kitchen as soon as it's done to help set the mood of my kitchen, because it's like a free-for-all on food for everybody, including myself. I also ended up pulling this one out. This one actually didn't have anything to do with anything. I just really wanted to stitch on it for a little bit. So we've got Sherlock. I did quite a bit on this one. It doesn't look like it. It's a lot of back stitching. In fact, most of this pattern is back stitching with a little bit of full cross stitch. So if you are gonna stitch this one, I will try to remember to link to the patterns below, but if you wanted to do this one, I highly recommend using linen. All right, the next thing I pulled out, this one was all because of Go Stitch. This one is Liberty's Welcome. This one is a lot of fun to stitch on, and right now I'm trying to just kind of work around the border. Then, I mean, I don't know. I'm just working it the way I feel like it at any given day. Avoiding the giant house. I hear giant, when you start stitching on giant houses in patterns, it gets boring. So I'm kind of avoiding the giant house. So I put in 500 stitches on that one. And then, last but not least, Dark Queen of the Sea. I got part 8 finished. There's only 4 more parts before this stitch along is finished. Can you believe that? I think we started in August, I think. So I think, yeah, 4 more parts we should finish in August. I can't believe how much, this is so much stitching, you guys. This part that I just finished, which is the trident and the coral down here, was over 2,000 stitches. She is beautiful. I am so excited. I love this pattern. If I haven't, I mean, this is the only stitch along I have that I'm keeping up on. I have some others that are well past finished that I'm working on now, but so with this one, I'm off. So I might end up restitching some of this. So you might see this again in the future as I had to restitch. So here's the thing, is they keep releasing it where you have an option to choose this pattern or this pattern, and for the most part, everything matches up. But occasionally, Like in the case of the head and the hair, they had two different faces. They had two patterns. Each pattern had a different face. And then depending on the color of hair, so I chose the pattern that had this face because I loved how big the eyes were, but it was a different color of hair. So I had to download both patterns so I could do this hair with this face. But because both patterns were different and the facial structure was slightly different, around the face, the hair stitching was different on each pattern. So I had to fudge a little bit, which then ended up making me off a little bit elsewhere in the hair. So somewhere around here I'm off, and somewhere around here I'm off with my stitching. You can't tell, it looks fine, but that then later affects other stitching. So when I started this section with all these leaves, everything looks great and it worked out fine until I got down here where I was a little off and I had to skip a few stitches because this leaf met up with the tail and the body too early, like by one thing. So nothing big. It's nothing that's gonna break the pattern. However, when I come over here, I based the start of the trident and everything, I based all of that off of these fish. And then I based this off of the trident. The problem is this is off. There's like 5 extra stitches going up to this fish's tail that shouldn't be there. So somewhere I got off, and that one's a bigger get off, a bigger off. That sounded so wrong. And if Vicky is watching this, she is not gonna let me forget it. So I'm gonna probably have to unpick all of this, start it off of the fishtail instead of the trident to see if I can fix that problem. Hold on a second. Anyway, that was a whole long explanation. My dog is wagging his tail and it's making you shake. I'm sorry. And he loves me. Hi, sweetie, but can you sit? Okay, sit. Good boy, stay. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys all wanted to know that, but it's helpful for me when I see people who are stitching to know that, you know, even if they've been stitching for a long time, they still make screw ups. And somewhere in here I've screwed up, and I feel like that's a big enough mistake that it could cause issues later. For instance, this right here, it looks like this nice big circle, but on the actual pattern, it's not supposed to look circular. So I definitely need to go back and fix that. And yeah, so that's all I've done for stitching. Nothing else really going on except tomorrow. Tomorrow is my wedding anniversary with my husband, of course. We will have been married for 22 years tomorrow, which is crazy. My first video for Flosstube I filmed in May, so my first ever anniversary for Flosstube is coming up. And I remember when I started this channel, I couldn't even comprehend the idea of filming for an entire year, especially because we were just about to move, everything was up in the air, COVID had just become a thing. I mean, not just, but you guys know what I mean. We didn't know what COVID was going to be like a year from then. And I know me personally could not fathom the idea that it would still be as big of an issue as it is. I don't even remember what I was saying there. One of my kids has been invited to go to school 4 days a week instead of just the 2 in-person to virtual. Because of his entire class, only 6 kids are showing up to in-person, and so they're asking all the parents if their kids want to extend that time. And so we're gonna go ahead and let him do that because he needs to make some friends. My husband got his first COVID shot, and now the rest of us are sort of just waiting until we are cleared to do so. We've been waiting so that we could do it through military channels because that's what my husband, I think he was told that we just needed to wait for that. But now they're saying that if we want to, we can go through the city. They're gonna open up the tier that I'm qualified for, like anytime now, military side. I'm not exactly sure how to do it through the city, but we're not in any big hurry because we're not going anywhere. We don't have any big trips planned. We don't have vacations or anything, so I think we're just gonna kind of wait so we can do it on the base, because that's always just easier for me. But we'll see, because even then, I don't even know which of my kids will even qualify, depending on which vaccine it is, because I know some of them are age dependent. We'll see. But yeah, so I mean, besides yard work, we're gonna get some yard work done. Besides all that, nothing much going on in the Stokes household. We're just chilling, enjoying the spring. Spring here is beautiful. I love spring, I love fall, but I especially love seeing the trees and the flowers budding and everything. And since I am one of the lucky ones that does not suffer from allergies, my daughter is not so lucky. She's not enjoying spring as much as I am, but I love the spring. It's beautiful. And we're in Virginia, and apparently every 17 years there's like this big cicada thing, a certain kind of cicada. I cannot remember the name of it, but I did read an article about it today, and I will put a picture up. But this cicada comes out every 17 years, and I guess it's like a giant swarm. My son came home from school saying, we're gonna be overrun with these things called cicadas, and they're like 2 inches long, and I guess they're just everywhere, and they make a lot of noise. And I mean, I know what cicadas are because I've seen them. When we lived in Japan, we had giant, I mean, I'm not kidding, they were huge cicadas, and I didn't know what they were because all we would see were these little carcasses or shed skin from the cicadas, and they would be stuck to our walls of our home, and they were just huge. But I never actually saw the cicadas themselves. My understanding is here they're going to be everywhere. They come out of the ground every 17 years, so it's kind of a big deal. The picture I saw, they looked really pretty, actually. They looked very colorful. I'm really excited, but they're supposed to be coming out soon, I guess. So that'll be interesting, because I've never been part of a giant mass eruption of cicadas that happens once every 17 years, so lucky me. So I'm excited for that, and yeah, that's it. I don't have really anything else for you on this video. I think I'm gonna be pulling my mirrors out here soon for May, because it's almost May, and I'll get to do my mirabilias. I need to sit down and make that plan for Stitch Mania, and got that going. And I definitely want to get started on my Abominable Bundle, Bigfoot Bunch, maybe some smalls, we'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave you there because I am just rambling now. And I hope everybody has a great week, and I will talk to you again next time. So, bye.